Para sa buwan ng Pebrero, tatalakay naman natin ang iba't ibang scientific and technical services ng Department of Science and Technology para sa bawat Pilipino. At ngayong Biyernes, makasama natin ang namumuno sa dalawang ahensya ng DOST na aktibo sa pagbibigay ng serbisyo upang masiguro ang kaligtasan ng mga mamamayan sa panahon ng kalamidad. Makasama natin sina Dr. Renato Yusulidum Jr., ang Undersecretary for S&T Services at Officer in Charge ng DOST FIVOX, at si Dr. Esperanza Ocayanan, ang Deputy Administrator for Research and Development ng DOST Pag-asa. Alamin yan at iba pang Science for the People projects ng Department of Science and Technology mula mismo kay DOST Secretary Fortunato Boy de la Peña. Pagkatutukan natin yan sa DOST Report tuwing Biyernes alas 4 ng hapon sa DOST TV Facebook page at YouTube channel. Narito na ang mga napapanahong balita tungkol sa agham, teknolohiya at inobasyon para sa bawat Pilipino. Ito ang DOST Report. Magandang araw Pilipinas, ako po inyong kapatid Sema Boyd, Oring Miranda, at kasama rin po natin ang kalihim ng kagawaran ng agham at teknolohiya, ang nag-iisang DOST Secretary Fortunato Boy de la Peña. Magandang agham po, Sec Boy.
Magandang araw din, Onin, at magandang araw sa ating mga taga-subaybay.
Ngayong araw, sir, sa ating programa, patuloy po ang pagbibigay balita ni Sec Boy tungkol sa latest update tungkol sa agham at teknolohiya sa ating bansa na bahagi ng kalusugan, kabuhayan, kaayusan at kinabukasan. Sa ikalawang bahagi naman ng programa ay ating pag-uusapan ang iba't ibang S&T services na ibinibigay ng DOST para sa bawat Pilipino. Abangan po ninyo yan, pero sa ngayon, makibalita muna tayo sa latest news tungkol sa agham at teknolohiya. Mula po kay Secretary Boy.
Katulad ng dati ay i-report ko ang ating mga accomplishments, highlights of accomplishments for the week. Mag-uumpisa sa kalusugan, pagkatapos ay sa kabuhayan, kaayusan at kinabukasan. So, uumpisahan ko na. Narito ang ating accomplishments for kalusugan for this week. The first one comes from the Philippine Council for Health Research and Development of DOST, stating that they support the implementation of a study that aim to develop a cell-based immunoassay for serologic testing for COVID-19. So there are actually three types of tests available for COVID-19. We have the polymerase chain reaction or PCR testing. We have the antigen testing, okay, which can both test for active infection. On the other hand, serological testing, which tests for antibodies against SARS-CoV-2, can detect whether a person has been infected with COVID-19 in the past. Serological testing is suggested by the World Health Organization to support the diagnosis of COVID-19. Some recommend its use to aid in diagnosis of subclinical cases of COVID-19 and to determine the true extent of COVID-19 spread, since it can determine how many people may have been infected with COVID-19 in a community or region. Serological testing can also help determine who qualifies to donate convalescent plasma for the treatment of hospitalized patients with COVID-19. So the project entitled Development of a Cell-Based Immunoassay for Coronavirus Disease COVID-19 or COVID-19 Serologic Testing is being led by Dr. Prestel Monica Climacosa of the University of the Philippines, Manila, together with their collaborators from the University of Toronto, Canada. And they are developing this novel cell-based immunoassay platform for serologic testing of COVID-19. So the said immunoassay will be using engineered yeast cells to detect antibodies against SARS-CoV-2 and can then be used in remote areas which lack sophisticated laboratory equipment and infrastructure. Actually, this started last year and is expected to end in May 2022, and we expect this to benefit communities, researchers, and clinicians who are determined to address local and global burdens of COVID-19, specifically in improving access to diagnostic tools for mass disease surveillance. And by the way, I'm proud to say that Dr. Climacosa is one of our MD, PhD graduate scholars at DOST. The second report on kalusugan comes from the DOST National Capital Region. And this is actually on the project on supporting adolescent growth in the Philippines, or Project SAGIP, which is a pilot study done in Marikina City. We have finished phase 1, and now DOST NCR approved the phase 2 of the project. The consultation recently was participated by the DOST Food and Nutrition Research Institute, the Schools Division Office of Marikina, and Concepcion Integrated School last January 26, of course, facilitated by DOST NCR. So the activity began with a review of the accomplishments during the first phase of Project SAGIP, which focused on developing nutrition intervention program for adolescents, including the creation of information and education campaign materials in support of attaining adolescents' nutrition awareness. For the second phase, the implementation will consist of pilot testing of the SAGIP Nutrition Intervention Program in improving the nutritional status of selected stunted adolescents from 10 to 14 years of age through the conduct of a 60 school day feeding program. And the technical working group identified the Concepcion Integrated School in Marikina City as the pilot site for this project. The third item comes from the DOST Food and Nutrition Research Institute. Our DOST FNRI and the Office of the Cabinet Secretary has recently held a webinar on iron fortified rice. This was last January 25, 2022, wherein DOST FNRI, in partnership with the Office of the Cabinet Secretariat, hosted the 12th Kumain webinar and its second installment on iron rice fortification. Ang kasapatan at ugnayan ng mamamayan sa akmang pagkain at nutrisyon, or Kumain webinar series, ay venue for sharing with the public the interagency efforts and government interventions to end hunger. The Interagency Task Force on Zero Hunger was actually created in 2020 through Executive Order number 101. Iron deficiency actually can lead to premature birth and maternal death, poor child development, and a weak immune system. According to UNICEF, adult anemia can result in a work performance deficit equivalent to $233 million in economic losses per year. Rice is one of the Filipinos' top 5 sources of iron. Thus, rice fortification is the best way to address iron deficiency. And the DOST FNRI Technologies on Rice Fortification aims to prevent and address iron deficiency among Filipinos. So present during the webinar at the opening was Cabinet Secretary Carlo Alexei Nograles, and also our DOST Undersecretary Sancho Mabora. Now we move on to the fourth item, which also comes from DOST FNRI, and this is their report that they held meetings for adapters of their rice mongo blend food and other nutritious food, as well as e-Nutriban adapters. And these were done for the group of the Ministry of Science and Technology in BARM. Okay, this was on January 17, 2022. The other forum was done at the DOST Calabarzon upon the initiative of our regional office there. Now we move to Kabuhayan. The first item here is the report of DOST at the Cordillera Administrative Region, reporting that they have entered into new partnerships with the science and technology stakeholders at the Cordillera Administrative Region. And these were in the provinces of Abra, in Apayao, and in Ifugao. In Abra, the firms which signed agreements with the DOST CAR under the Small Enterprise Technology Upgrading Program are DUV Machine Shop, Juno Brad Antiques and Furnitures, Leila's Loom Weaving, and 3J's Sweet Delights. In Apayao, particularly in the town of Flora, the agreements were signed by our SMEs there. We have the GM's Food House, Rosita Food Stand, and ND Motor Vehicle Parts and Accessories Shop. In Ifugao, the agreements were signed with set-up beneficiaries, and these are 2D's Mini Bakery in Banawi, Ifugao, and then we have also had the local government unit of Pinto and the Napano Farmers Association for soybean processing, and we have A&I Bakery to upgrade baking equipment and related skills for its staff. There was also a signing between the DOST Provincial Science Technology Center of Benguet, okay, led by Dr. Sheila Singa Claver, and this is for possible science and technology interventions in the different municipalities of Benguet, specifically in Mangkayan and in Kapangan. The next report on Kabuhayan is a very nice item coming from our DOST Region 10. And their report says that the hearing impaired graduates in Bukidnon now with sustainable livelihood with DOST's intervention. Specifically, 10 hearing impaired graduates of Bukidnon National High School are now with a sustainable livelihood after attending a 16-hour hands-on capability training on pastry making, where they have recently garnered already a gross income of 8,000 a month after the training. DOST Bukidnon's intervention involved the supply of equipment like oven, bread racks, and other basic supplies and materials. And as an offshoot of the training, they are now selling cakes and different kinds of bread, initially to about 200 school teachers and personnel of their school. The local government unit of Balay is also now a regular customer of this bake shop that has been put up by the 10 hearing impaired students of Bukidnon. The next item is a report from our DOST Region 9, wherein our DOST regional office there provided interventions in science and technology worth 1.5 million pesos. And this was in support of programs to a distant community, particularly in Sinunok, Zamboanga City. And this was released as a technical assistance for barangay advancement and nutritional growth. So these are actually interventions such as in health and nutrition development, in livelihood, in access to education, and in disaster risk reduction and management, as well as water and sanitation. So this was given to that community in Sinunok, Zamboanga City. And the interventions include the setting up of a small-scale corn mill, the installation of a water filtration system, a nutri-feeding program for the malnourished children, financial literacy and livelihood trainings involving the Zamboanga Peninsula native chicken, also the product called vermicast, the squash, as well as squash cultivation, and other food products. So the trainings, on the other hand, on disaster risk reduction and management was done through the DOST Science and Technology Star Books, okay, that has been included in the assistance given to the community. Mig-Asa actually is a GIDA area, no, geographically isolated, and the disadvantaged community accessible only by foot, okay, or by carabao sledge. It sits in a 4.2 kilometers from a major highway in Barangay Sinunok, and requires an hour and a half crisscrossing of a river in favorable weather from all would-be visitors. So at present, Sitio Migasa is home to 86 households with an estimated population of 280, and the residents have very limited access to food and can only resort to cultivating crops and vegetables for sustenance. Corn is processed with outdated stone mills to produce an alternative to rice, while proteins such as fish and meat only become available during rare necessitated visits to the city. Houses still rely on candles and lamps for heat and light, while water is collected from springs, then boiled and purified when time permits. And internet connectivity and communication with cellular phones is nearly impossible, forcing students to opt out of school and work in the fields or seek employment in the city. So this is really much deserving for the science and technology empowerment assistance coming from DOST. The next item is coming from DOST, Industrial Technology Development Institute, or DOST ITDI, and this is regarding the conduct of a livelihood training program, which they did for Filipino women residing in Sri Lanka. There is difficulty for these Filipino women to come home, and so the DOST ITDI had an agreement with the Technical Cooperation Council of our Department of Foreign Affairs to conduct this livelihood training program. Initially, they focused on the production of nata de coco and processed ube, and this was done online on January 28, 2022 via Zoom. Actually, since 2013, the TCCP of DFA and the Industrial Technology Development Institute have already been working hand in hand to provide technology-based training geared towards building goodwill for future partnership with developing countries. Next report comes from our DOST Region 2, and this is a report that the Cagayan State University, which had projects on the pilot testing of 3 peanut post-harvest mechanization, as well as bulk storage technologies with the support of DOST, has already completed the pilot testing. So the pilot testing was completed in selected provinces in regions 1, 6, and 10. This PICARD-funded project was implemented by Cagayan State University from July 18 to June 2021. The CSU report indicates that peanut stripper sorter, peanut shell sorter, and the automated aerated bulk storage system performed well in the project testing sites in Bintar, Ilocos Norte, San Joaquin, Iloilo, and Claveria, Misamis Oriental. So they went to both Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao for the testing. I remember this because once I attended the exhibit of the Agriculture Engineering College of Cagayan State University, and I saw the initial models of this equipment. Next is a report coming from our DOST, still ITDI, Industrial Technology Development Institute, and ITDI reported the completion of its study on the development of shelf-stable food products. This project aims to produce emergency food from fruits, grains, and vegetables. It has developed ready-to-eat or RTE chicken egg, ito yung mga boiled chicken egg, rice milk, veggie suman, beef filled suman, isotonic drink, prototypes of preserved vegetables, and dried banana. Out of these products, 4 are already open for adoption, namely the beef filled suman, the ready-to-eat chicken egg, the mung bean coconut milk drink, and the isotonic drink. Shelf life studies were conducted for these products, and these were found to be stable for 9 months, 5 months, and 12 months and 9 months respectively. So for the project's next phase, DOST ITDI aims to conduct consultations among communities, partner government agencies, and toll processors to improve these product prototypes further. So interested operators may contact the DOST ITDI for potential adoption. Now we move to kaayusan. And the first report on kaayusan comes from our DOST Advanced Science and Technology Institute, which has reported that they have successfully licensed two of its R&D outputs for public good purposes. This January 13 and January 20, 2022. When we say licensing for public good purposes, it means that there is no royalty payment required for the licensing. The recipients were the University of the Philippines, Diliman, and De La Salle University, respectively, through the signing of an end-user licensing agreement. The products actually are the satellite image feeds processed by the Philippine Earth Data Resource Observation, or PEDRO, requested by UP Diliman to be used in fulfillment of their mini project called the GME 231, or the Light Detection and Ranging or LiDAR Remote Sensing class, while the data gathered using DOST ASTIS technology, meteorological data acquisition stations for information dissemination, or MASID, was requested by De La Salle University, Manila, to be used in an undergraduate thesis which aims to conduct a flood hazard assessment and mapping of flood inundation areas along Ilugin River using geographic information systems, or GIS, hydrologic and hydraulic modeling. The granting of licenses for public good purposes is part of the agency's continuous technology transfer activities to ensure that its R&D outputs can be utilized for non-profit purposes, for further research, or for other purposes such as academic development, disaster risk mitigation and management, and the improvement of national security and agricultural sustainability. The next report on kaayusan comes from the DOST National Capital Region. They reported that they have engaged Balik scientists who are actually stationed at the Polytechnic University of the Philippines for biogas plant development for slaughterhouses and food service establishments. So DOST NCR approved funding for the project entitled Biogas Plant in Abattoirs and Portable Biogas Digester for food service establishments as a source of sustainable energy. This is led by Balik scientist Dr. Gino Andres, who is stationed at the Polytechnic University of the Philippines, Manila. The project aims to design and fabricate a biodigester plant for slaughterhouses or abattoir and a portable biogas digester for kitchen and food waste from food service establishments in the National Capital Region. These slaughterhouses actually have the potential to produce biogas from both solid and liquid waste byproducts. There are tons of waste which are produced in slaughterhouses every day, threatening the environment and health conditions of communities near them. Likewise, diesel fuel cost incurred in the meat industry has also reached a towering cost already. Moreover, the biggest volume of waste generated in NCR are mostly food waste. Thus, this project is aimed at using waste byproducts from abattoirs and food service facilities to generate energy, which can have an estimated savings of about 1 million pesos annually on diesel fuel cost for each plant. This project actually involves designing and validation of the biodigester system, the fabrication, the deployment, and the installation of the system to a partner slaughterhouse in the National Capital Region. Simultaneously, the research team will develop portable biogas digesters. So this will be done first with one food service establishment. Another report on kaayusan comes from our DOST Region 1, the Ilocos region, reporting that the three of their technical staff from DOST Region 1 have been certified as halal lead auditors after successfully undergoing an intensive training on halal lead auditor training and certification program The program was organized by the DOST, Industrial Technology Development Institute, or ITDI, and was actually supported by the DOST Human Resource Development Program. It was a 3-day intensive training, and it was followed by the lead auditor's examination. The following passed and were certified as halal lead auditors. We have Jonathan Bernies, uh, the Provincial Science and Technology Director in La Union. And then we have Dec Libunao, a Senior Science Research Specialist, and Annalie Rosales, a Science Research Specialist too, also from DOST Region 1. So the three were confirmed the title as Certified Halal Lead Auditors. The next report is coming from our DOST Mimaropa, stating that the Municipality of Romblon Science, Technology, and Innovation Committee is laying out its plans on the utilization and management of waste from the marble industry. The Science, Technology, and Innovation Committee of Romblon started identifying already science and technology and innovation related programs and initiatives. And among these is the enhancement of the existing marble industry in that municipality in coordination, of course, with DOST. Now, the committee and DOST Mimaropa, particularly the Provincial Science Technology Center in Romblon, discuss the gaps and opportunities in this industry in the province, including the utilization and management of marble waste such as marble dust. Okay, so the municipality of Romblon is one of the three pilot local government units in the regions to have institutionalized what they call Science, Technology, and Innovation Committee. This was established in November 2021 through a municipal executive order. So we are already, shall we say, utilizing our idea of iStart, okay, which is really bringing advancement in the regions through science and technology. The next report, the last three reports are on kinabukasan. Now, I include this report under kinabukasan. And this is the report of Picard, okay, wherein they commemorated Jose Rizal as a naturalist through a scientific conference. The Philippine Council for Agriculture, Aquatic, and Natural Resources Research and Development under the Department of Science and Technology conducted a virtual scientific conference featuring the life and works of our national hero as a naturalist. This scientific conference aimed at presenting the contributions of Jose Rizal to science by featuring his studies on different species which he discovered and other species named after him. This has also aimed to raise the awareness about the importance of conserving our natural resources and the recent discoveries that lie within the country's diverse biodiversity. Let me just add that there are actually four webinars that have been and are going to be conducted in celebration of Rizal's 120th year of martyrdom. We have already done the webinar of the Philippine Council for Health R&D dealing with Rizal as a medical scientist and ophthalmologist. And we have this Picard webinar on Rizal as a naturalist. And we had also the shared webinar on Rizal in the physical and engineering science. And of course, we also have one from the National Research Council of the Philippines on Rizal on the social sciences. A report coming from DOST Region 10, wherein households in Sagay Camiguin will benefit in their science and technology information kiosk, which is powered by solar photovoltaic systems through our DOST community empowerment through science and technology. This is a big community of about 2,875 households in Sagay, Camiguin, which will benefit in this recently turned over science and technology information kiosk, which is powered by solar photovoltaic system. So this is through our CEST program. The total project fund allocated for this is 1.07 million, and this will be in the under the management of the LGU in Sagay, so that our Starbooks materials, the digitized library, and the printed and multimedia materials can be utilized by the community. And this is part of our science and technology culture promotion, as well as our program on disaster resiliency. So the kiosk will be powered by the solar photovoltaic system as a response to the inconsistent power supply in the area. Sagay is a fifth-class municipality in the island with a relatively high poverty incidence level at 44.59%. So this is belonging to the so-called GIDA category of communities, geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas. This ends my report for this week. I hope that our viewers, listeners were able to get useful knowledge out of these items which I reported.
Maraming salamat po, Sec Boy. Natuhin po ninyong kabuuan ng DOST updates para sa nagdaang linggo. Sa aming pagbabalik, ating umpisa ng bagong serye ng panayam, ang S&T Services for the People interview series kasama ang DOST Box at DOST Pag-asa. Susunod na po yan pagkatapos ng ilang paalala. Kayo po'y nakatutok sa DOST Report, Science for the People. Yan po naging tagline ng DOST sa nakalipas na 5 kalahating taon. Lahat po ng serbisyo ng departamento ay nakasentro sa unlaran ng bansa at kaginhawaan ng bawat mamayan. Pagdating po sa pagpapalawig ng kaalaman tungkol sa agam at teknolohiya sa paghubog ng kaisipan ng mga kabataang nais mga eksperto, inhinyero at siyentipiko. Gayon din ang pagsuporta sa mga inventor ng bayan na may imbensyon at inovasyong tunay na makaguluhan. At siyempre, pagdating sa kandaan sa mga kalamidad, ang serbisyo po ng DOST ay ating maasahan.
Mga kaonin, kung noong Enero ay itinuon natin ang ating pansin sa mga research and development programs, projects and activities, this month of February naman ay magpo-focus tayo sa mga scientific and technological services ng DOST na inihahatid ng ating mga science and technology institutes. In particular, for this first episode, ang ating i-interviewin ay mga ahensya na may kinalaman sa disaster risk reduction and management.
Para tulungan tayo sa usaping ito, makakasama po natin Dr. Renato Euston Jr., Undersecretary for S&T Services and Officer in Charge ng DOST Box. At si Dr. Esperanza Ocayanan, ang Deputy Administrator for Research and Development ng DOST Pag-asa. Magandang araw po sa inyo.
Onin, umpisahan na natin ang talakayan. Actually, noong mga nakaraang panahon, ang DOST ay nakilala lang lamang ng karamihan ng ating mga kababayan dahil sa Pag-asa at PBOX kasi sila yung parati nilang naririnig sa pagbibigay ng mga warning. Kaya ang ating uunahin ngayon ay si Yusek Renato Solidum, na siya din namang officer in charge ng PBOLCS, para tayo ay paliwanagan sa kanilang mga programa, sa kanilang mga nagawa at sa kanilang mga gagawin pa. Yusek Rene.
Magandang araw po, Sec Boy, at sa lahat ng ating kasamahan dito sa programa at sa lahat ng taga-subaybay ng DOST report.
Ayan. Sir, una po sa lahat, ano po ang serbisyo sa tao ng DOST PBOLCS na gumagamit ng tungkol sa SNP?
Well, unang-una, ang PBOLCS ay mandato na gawin ang mga ito. Una, alamin ang mga lugar na posibleng matamaan ng iba't ibang panganib patungkol sa paglindol, pagsabog ng bulkan, tsunami, at mga related na mga panganib tulad ng mga landslide. Bantayan ang mga ito at magkaroon ng babala o magbigay ng impormasyon upang ito ay mapaghandaan. At gagawin ito sa pagkakaroon ng mga monitoring and warning systems para sa lindol, bulkan, tsunami at landslide. At syempre, ang isa sa pinaka-importante na gagawin natin maliban doon sa mga monitoring and hazards and risk assessment ay yung pagbibigay ng tamang informasyon para maging maalam, maging aware at makapaghanda ang ating mga kababayan. At nagbibigay tayo ng mga serbisyo na very specific sa science and technology influence or input para makapaghanda ang ating mga kababayan, mga eskwelahan, mga kumpanya, and of course, national and local governments.
Napakalaki ng ginagampanan nitong ating mga ahensyang naka-feature today sa kahandaan para sa mga extreme conditions, okay, at sa mga natural calamities or disasters. At ang masasabi ko lang, itong mga ahensya natin na ito ay talagang sabihin nating mga hardcore scientist ang mga nagpapatakbo. So, Yusek Rene, ano ba ang para sa kaalaman ng ating mga kababayan, ano ang papel ng PBOLCS para paghandaan itong mga paglindol, pagtutok ng bulkan? Ito yung prati nating nadidinig mula sa PBOLCS.
Ang kahandaan po sa anumang sakuna ay nakasalalay sa 4 na pinakapangunahing advokasya o serbisyo. Una ay magkaroon ng pagbabantay, monitoring and forecasting ng mga posibleng pagsabog ng bulkan, pagkakaroon ng lindol, tsunami o di kaya ay landslide. At ito ay ginagawa po natin dahil meron po tayong 24 active volcanoes at binabantayan natin sa ngayon ang 10. At ang ginawa po natin ay mas near real-time monitoring. Ang ginagawa natin sa bulkan, ibig sabihin, makikita na sa central office ang lahat ng mga nababantayan sa iba't ibang volcano. Meron tayong panglindol, pang-sukat ng pamamaga ng bulkan, mga nangyayari sa bulkan through IP camera, at paggabi meron tayong thermal infrared camera. Pagdating naman po sa lindol, ay meron na tayong sa kasalukuyang 112 earthquake monitoring stations all over the Philippines. Nagsimula kami sa mga 12 lamang nung inilipat sa PBOLCS ang function ng seismology from Pag-asa in the 80s. At nagdagdag pa tayo ng mga sea level monitoring stations. Meron na tayong mga 29 na sariling PBOLCS DOST na sea level para bantayan sa posibleng tsunami ang ating bansa. Pangalawang kailangan gawin ay yung alamin ang mga lugar na tatamaan at anong mangyari. Ito'y tawag ay hazards and risk assessment. So nagmamapa tayo ng mga prone sa lindol, sa tsunami, sa pagsabog ng bulkan. At maliban dyan, dahil sa makabagong teknolohiya, nag-develop tayo ng mga makabagong applications na pwede nyo nang malaman ang mga panganib sa pamamagitan ng inyong cellphone lamang. Hazard Hunter Philippines, Fault Finder, sa mga inisyatibo po ng PBOLCS. At ito po ay gagawin pa nating mas engaging kasi kasama natin ang Pag-asa at iba pang ahensya ng gobyerno na maisama din natin lahat ng mga panganib na pwedeng tumama. So baga, isang source lang, magbibigay ng serbisyo ang buong gobyerno. Pangatlo na napaka-importante ay masiguradong maintindihan ng ating mga kababayan ang mga babala natin na binibigay, pang bulkan, pang lindol, pang tsunami, pang landslide, And more importantly, ano ang dapat gawin para sila ay makapaghanda. Kasi ang pang-apat na importanteng gagawin ng ating mga kababayan ay magkaroon ng tama, epektibo at timely na response sa lahat ng binibigay na information o warning ng DOST. Kasi kung kahit anong ganda ang ating ibigay na information pero hindi alam ng mga tao kung anong gagawin, specific sa kanilang lugar, baka hindi angkop ang kanilang gagawing pagre-responde. So ito po yung kabuuan sa ginagawa ng ating ahensya na iba-iba pong mga scientista ang nangunguna sa pagpapatupad ng mga ito.
Alright. Yusek, sir, ano-ano po yung inyong mga bagong plano sa mga susunod na taon na lalong makabubuti para sa ating mga kababayan, para sila po yung maging handa at maging ligtas sa panahon ng mga kalamidad?
Una-una sa pagbabantay ng lindol ay magdadagdag pa tayo ng mga seismic station. Ang pangako namin nung 6 years ago for this administration ay 115 in total ang ating seismic station. Maabot namin ito this year, baka 116 pa. Sa mga bulkan ay magdadagdag tayo ng mga instrumento upang mabantayan ng mabuti ang mga aktibong bulkan sa Pilipinas. Ang mga lugar na pwedeng tamaan ng tsunami ay makikipag-ugnayan tayo sa mga local government kasi sila mismo nga interesado na rin na magkaroon sila ng warning system na kung saan mag-share kami ng responsibility. Sa monitoring, ang DOST FIVOX at ang kanila ay communication for warning. Magbibili sila ng mga siren, no? And lastly, gusto nating paigtingin pa ang ating pagpapaalam sa ating mga kababayan na mga panganib na pwedeng tumama, pero hindi lang yon. Alam na natin ang mga panganib, pero kailangan ng local government na magabayan sila kasi konti lang ang technical people nila para makagawa sila ng plano na angkop sa mga darating na mga panganib at epekto ng climate change. So we will coordinate with other government agencies at gagawa kami ng smart planning app. Meron na tayong Hazard Hunter, may Geomapper, Geoanalytics. Pwede na natin kunin online ang mga information para magamit na mga local government for their purposes at magabayan lang sila through the smart planning app. Bibigyan namin sila ng outline paano nila i-approach na mapaghandaan ng tama ang iba't ibang panganib na tatama sa kanilang lugar. And this is a big effort to be coordinated with other agencies of government like OCD, DILG, and of course, DOST and DNR.
Okay, sisingit lang ako, Onin. Salamat, Yusek Rene. Naalala ko lang kasi, Yusek Rene, kamakailan ay nagbukas tayo ng isang malaking sentro sa Mindanao, parang mirror center ng PBOLC sa Mindanao at yun ay tinayo natin sa Philippine Science High School Campus. Ito ba ay magkakaroon ng iba pang ganito sa ibang parte ng Pilipinas? At saka meron lang akong naisipan na pwede rin ninyong i-consider. Baka pwedeng pumili din tayo ng ilang mga guro sa Philippine Science High School na magkaroon ng expertise sa inyong linya at sa gano'n naman ay maturuan din nila yung mga estudyante natin sa science. Yun lang.
Opo, Sec Boy. No? Magandang katanungan at suggestion. Yung una, magtatayo tayo ng Visayas Earthquake and Tsunami Monitoring and Information Center. Gagawin natin ito sa Cebu. Para naman kung sabay-sabay may mangyaring malalakas na lindol sa Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, covered na natin kasi Central Office sa Mindanao, sa Davao, and sa Cebu. Pangalawa po, yung effort po natin with teachers ay talagang mas papaigtingin sa paggamit ng makabagong teknolohiya na nabanggit ko na kanina. Meron po tayong dinevelop, Secboy, na mga module for science teachers sa elementary, sa high school, senior high school, and DepEd, Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Officers, focal person. Separate pa, meron tayong module sa local government. So yung pong mga sa Philippine Science, which is of course under din sa services ng DOST, we have engaged with them before para makapaghanda ang Philippine Science Campus. Pero nga, maganda po yung ating focus kasi may Earth Science naman ang Philippine Science High School System na talagang maganda, ay dadagdagan po natin yung coordination with the specialized campuses ng DOST para dumami ang advocates, mga sundalo para sa kandaan ng ating bansa.
Maraming salamat po muli, DOST Undersecretary Dr. Renato U. Solidum Jr. Makakasama po natin si Yusek Solidum maya-maya po lamang. Sa puntong ito, makakasama naman po natin si Dr. Esperanza Ocayanan, ang Deputy Administrator for Research and Development ng DOST Pag-asa. Magandang araw po, ma'am.
Magandang araw din sa iyo, Onin, kay Sec Boy, kay Yusek Rene Solidum at sa lahat ng ating taga-subaybay sa programang ito.
Dr. SP, alam naman natin na pagdating sa panahon na unang tinatanong at kinukonsulta, hindi lamang ng mga opisyalis ng gobyerno, kundi na pati sa negosyo, pati mga kababayan natin, local government units, ang unang tinatanong ay ang pag-asa. So ang una mo sigurong ipaliwanag, ano ba ang mga serbisyong ibinibigay ng pag-asa, may kinalaman sa panahon at iba pa. At siguro mabanggit din natin na ang pag-asa noon ay parang tayo ay kapos na kapos sa mga high-level expertise. Pero siguro mamaya banggitin mo na marami na tayo na-develop na magagaling sa pag-asa. Kaya within pag-asa ay gumagawa na tayo ng mga research natin at iba pang mga models. Sige, salamat.
Maraming salamat po, Sec Boy. Unang-una po, ang pag-asa po, ang mandato po ng pag-asa ay magbigay ng early warnings para po sa ating mga extreme weather events, kagaya po ng bagyo, ng tagtuyot, pag meron po tayong pagbaha. Kaya po ang mga serbisyo tungkol dito ay binibigay natin. Meron po tayong weather forecast, daily weather forecast, severe weather bulletins kung may extreme na bagyo, at meron din po tayong tinatawag na seasonal forecast ng ating monthly rainfall forecast natin, temperature forecast. And yun pong bago ngayon, yung sub-seasonal forecast natin kung saan nakakapagbigay po tayo ng hanggang 2 linggo na forecast po ng kung magkakaroon ng bagyo at saka po ng mga pag-ulan. And meron din po tayong mga climate projections na ibinibigay para po alam natin kung ano yung posibleng mangyari kapag sa susunod na 50 taon hanggang sa end ng 21st century. And bukod po dito, meron po tayong section ng astronomy sa pag-asa kung saan nagbibigay po tayo ng impormasyon tungkol po doon sa mga yung sinasabi natin tungkol sa ating astronomy, yung sunrise, sunset, moonset, mga constellations, kung meron po tayong meteor showers, and bukod po dito, ang pag-asa po ang nagbibigay ng Philippine Standard Time sa pamamagitan po ng ating atomic clock. So ito po yung mga serbisyo ng pag-asa, lalong-lalo na kung meron po tayong extreme events na kagaya ng drought, meron po tayong pinibigay na mga babala at warnings, at kung may El Nino at La Nina. So ito po yung ating mga serbisyo sa pag-asa.
Dr. Kayanan, sa dami po ng mga bagyong pumasok sa Philippine Area of Responsibility, ano po yung mga gandang nagawa ng DOST Pag-asa para sa mga Pilipino nitong nakaraang 5.5 years para po sila maging handa at ligtas?
Marami po tayong na-accomplish sa loob ng 5 taon at kalahati. Unang-una po, nag-improve po tayo ng ating physical resources, kagaya po ng ating radar systems. Nakapagdagdag po tayo ng 7 radar systems all over the country. Dati po meron lang po tayong 13. So ngayon po meron na po tayong 20 para po mas ma-monitor natin yung ating mga extreme weather systems natin. Bukod po dito, may mga high frequency coastal radars po tayo na naitayo, which is around 36 all over the country, para po ma-monitor natin yung mga karagatan natin kung may matataas na alon at para po din sa storm surge. Bukod po dito, nagdagdag po tayo ng tinatawag nating aviation weather observing system sa mga airport stations. So nagdagdag po tayo ng 5 sa ating mga international airport stations especially. And meron din po tayong itinayo na lightning detection system kung saan ngayon nga po nakakapagbigay po tayo ng lightning alerts sa airport stations, lalo na po sa NAIA natin, kung saan nagkakaroon po tayo ng advanced na information kung may mga lightning strokes na mararanasan sa airport. Bukod po dito, nabanggit na ni Secretary kanina, in-enhance po natin yung education yung tungkol po sa ating personnel development. Marami po tayong scholars na nakatapos ng PhD degree. Hindi lang po dito sa UP, kung hindi ganun din po sa ibang bansa dahil sa scholarship program. Sa ngayon nga po, meron na po tayong isang scientist na nagtapos po ng PhD scholarship through a scholarship grant. At bukod po dyan, meron po tayong mga research activities kung saan na-improve po yung ating forecasting system. Meron na po tayong 2-week tropical cyclone threat forecast kung saan malalaman natin kung sa loob ng 2 linggo na darating ay posible na magkaroon ng bagyo. Isa po itong research project. Meron din po tayong mga na-publish na mga articles, lalong-lalo na po yung ating pong climate projections. Meron din po tayong publication ng extreme climate events na nangyari at saka yung mga projections natin by the end of the 21st century. At marami rin po tayong proyekto kasama ang iba't ibang ahensya, kagaya po nung tungkol po sa agrikultura. Meron po tayong mga projects kung saan yung ating climate information ay magagamit ng ating mga farmers. So ito po yung marami pa po tayong mga iba't ibang programa na ipinapatupad. Ganon din po sa flood forecasting natin. Meron po tayong na-establish na flood warning centers sa iba't ibang major river basins around the country. Meron po tayong nadagdag na 5 ngayon, and we are targeting itong lahat ng 18 major river basins. Ngayon po may 12, so we are targeting na magkaroon tayo doon sa 18 major river basins, at susunod na rin po yung mga principal river basins para sa flood early warning system natin. So ito po yung ating mga activities for the past 5.5 years. Kaya patuloy po ang ating mga programa para sa improvement po ng warning systems ng Pag-asa.
Actually, nabanggit mo na yung mga plano, Doc SP, pero baka meron ka pang gustong idagdag sa mga iba't ibang plano natin na medyo long-term para talaga pang lalo pa nating maiwasan ang pagkawala ng buhay at pagkasira ng ari-arian.
Unang-una po yung isang programa natin para po sa information and education campaign, hindi ko nabanggit kanina. Meron po tayong proyekto na Maghanda project kung saan i-enhance po natin yung ating communication sa ating mga kababayan, lalong-lalo na po sa media at saka sa LGUs natin para po mas maunawaan yung ating mga babala na ibinibigay. I-enhance po natin ito para marami ang makaunawa ng ating mga impormasyon na pinapalaganap tuwing may extreme events. At tama ang magiging aksyon ng ating mga kababayan. Pangalawa po dito, meron po tayong isang na-approve na malaking proyekto under the Global Climate Fund or GCF, kung saan ito po ay tungkol sa multi-hazard impact-based forecasting. This is a 5-year project na mag-uumpisa po ngayong taon na ito. Sa proyekto pong ito, ang gagawin po natin ay mula po doon sa pagbibigay ng mga technical informations na warnings pag may bagyo at may extreme events, ang focus na po natin ay ipapaliwanag po natin yung impacts. Ano ba ang mangyayari kapag may mga ganitong na-observe na parametro? So alin-alin ang maaapektuhan na sektor, ano yung tamang dapat gawin, and we are coordinating with the LGUs na maibibigay sa kanila yung impormasyon. Meron din pong platform na nabubuuin para meron po tayong mas malawak na impormasyon na makikita ng ating mga kababayan. And we are also working on the application po ng artificial intelligence or AI para po sa weather forecasting. So ito po yung mga proyekto, and of course yung paggamit po ng ating IT or information systems, hindi lang po sa weather, kung hindi ganun din po sa flood at doon po sa climate, sa iba't iba na nag-i-involve po ang mga iba't ibang sector. And continue rin po yung ating mga pag-i-improve pa ng ating mga equipment para po yung monitoring natin ay mas maganda pa dahil mula nga po noong 2016, ang atin pong forecast track error ay bumaba. Dati, tina-target lang natin 100, pero ngayon pong taon na to, on the average, sa forecast track error ng bagyo ay around 78, pero sa typhoon po ay nasa 40 plus lang yung error natin. So, malaking improvement from 100 plus kilometer to 40 plus error, malaki pong improvement yung pagbaba ng error sa forecast ng tropical cyclones.
Sa puntong ito ng ating panayam, sasabak sa isang fast talk ang ating mga panauhin. Sasagutin nila ang mga tanong gamit ang isang salita, isang parirala o isang pangungusap sa loob ng 1 minuto. Kailan masasabing science is for the people?
Ang nagagamit ng tao.
Mula noon hanggang ngayon, science is for the people.
Isang salitang naglalarawan ng serbisyo binibigay ng inyong ahensya.
Pangkaligtasan.
Kaligtasan.
Dugtungan. Sa anumang kalamidad ang DOSTI.
May kaalaman para sa kaligtasan.
Laging handa magbigay ng impormasyon at warning.
Isang bagay na nais ninyong sabihin sa mamamayang Pilipino.
Science is for the people.
Kailangan po nating mag-ingat, lalo na po kung mayroong mga bagyo, naunawaan natin ang mga impormasyon para po may tamang aksyon ang ating gagawin.
Sagboy, baka may mga nais pa kayo mamatid sa ating mga taga-subaybay.
Oo, ilang punto lamang. Unang-una, ang parating pinag-uusapan na ngayon yung disaster resilience. At ang masasabi ko lang, ang savings kasi from losses brought about by disasters ay parang katumbas din yan ng mga additional productivity natin. Ano? Kasi pag na-reduce mo yung loss, parang nadagdagan pa. Karagdagan yan sa ating pag-unlad. Kaya napakahalaga na ma-reduce ang losses due to disasters. Pangalawa, actually, hindi lang naman Office of Civil Defense ang parati naming ka-coordinate dito sa mga trabaho ng pag-asa at ng PBOLCS. Napakahalaga rin ng coordination. Siyempre, well, of course, sa LGU, napakalaki ng coordination. Pero marami rin sa ating mga national agencies ang ka-coordinate ng pag-asa at PBOLCS. Halimbawa, napakahalaga ng weather forecast para sa ating agriculture, no? Sa ating agriculture, kaya nga meron tayong agrometeorology ba ang tawag doon. At ganun din kahit nasa DepEd, no? Not because they need it for suspension of classes, but alam natin na pati yung mga lugar, hindi ba Yusek rin, mga pagtatayuan ng mga paaralan, kailangan matiyak na ito ay yung hindi prone to disasters, ano? At nagkaroon na tayo
Public works din po.
Public works din. At syempre, ang DSWD ay umaasa din sa forecast kasi sila yung naghahanda. Pag dumating na yung disaster, dapat ready sila sa mga ayuda, sa mga emergency food, water, etc. Kaya importante rin sa kanila yan. Natural sa transportation, whether by air, by sea, by land, ay napakahalaga ng ating mga forecast. Ang pag-asa at PBOLCS, ito yung pangatlo kong mensahe, ay naipagmamalaki na natin sa buong mundo at kinikilala ang pag-asa at PBOLCS ng mga international organizations katulad ng World Meteorological Organization at ng UN Disaster Risk Reduction Office. Kaya binibigyan ng malaking role din ang pag-asa at PBOLCS, itong mga ahensya nito, para sa pagtulong din sa mga ibang bansa sa rehiyon when it comes to this subject. And finally, nabanggit na ni Doc SP, at dyan naman napakagaling ni Yusek Rene, yung to communicate yung ating mga forecast in a way that can be easily understood, at napakahalaga ng role ng media. So yun lang ang mensahe ko tungkol dito sa ating topics today.
Maraming salamat po, Sec Boy, sa amin pong pagbabalik. Sasagutin ni Secretary Boy at ng ating mga panauhin ang tanong ng bayan sa pagbabalik po yan ng DOST Report. Media questions are in. It's time for Itanong Mo kay Sec Boy. Para po sa unang katanungan, ang tanong na po ito ay mula kay Lyndon Planilla ng Philippine Information Agency for Yusek Solidum. Madalas po na may pagyanig sa bandang Calatagan, Batangas at Occidental Mindoro. Ano po bang indikasyon nito sa inyo at ano po ang dahilan?
Unang-una, ang Batangas at ang Mindoro ay madalas ngang magkaroon ng mga paglindol. Itong mga paglindol na to ay sani sa una, pagsuksok sa Manila Trends ng bloke ng bato na kasama ang West Philippine Sea or South China Sea. At itong sumusuksok na bloke ng bato ay nagdudulot ng paglindol na malalalim na mahigit 60 kilometers to 120 kilometers. Kaya kahit po minsan ay malakas, hindi naman talaga mapanira kasi masyado nang malalim yung lindol. Yung nasa Mindoro din naman ay posibleng dalawa ang pinanggagalingan nito. Una, yung Manila Trends pa rin kapag ang pangyayari ay nasa karagatan o di kaya may tinatawag tayong active faults. Yung unang active fault na madalas gumalaw ay yung lubang fault na nasa gitna ng Mindoro at Batangas at yung recent sa may sablayan ay mayroong active fault na nasa lupa. Yan po yung nagdudulot ng mga paglindol doon sa Occidental Mindoro.
Alright. Ang tanong na ito ay mula po kay Josephine Agapito, Pinoy scientist, Radyo Aguila. For Pag-asa, it was evident that there is a great improvement in how the country addresses disasters and calamities. So may we know in what specific areas do you think we still need to focus on in terms of raising the bar on disaster mitigation and climate change adaptation?
Maraming salamat po sa katanungan na yan. Sa atin pong, base po sa ating karanasan, kailangan pa po nating palawakin at paigtingin ang kaalaman at pag-unawa ng ating mga kababayan tungkol po doon sa early warning systems, lalong-lalo na po yung mga impormasyon na ibinibigay ng Pag-asa. Nakikita po natin na kapag may bagyo ay hindi atubili pa ang ating mga kababayan na kumilos dahil hindi nila nauunawaan ang mga impormasyon na ito. Kaya nga po tayo ay may mga proyekto para po paigtingin ang education and information campaign natin. We have projects with DOST issued tungkol po doon sa bagay na ito. Isa rin po nating kailangang bigyan pa ng pansin ay yun pong imagination ng disaster ng ating mga kababayan dahil dapat nauunawaan nila yung impacts nitong mga hazards na ito, lalo na po yung hazard ng hangin, yun pong pagbaha, yun pong landslides at yung mga areas kung saan ito mag-o-occur o mangyayari. Kaya kailangan po nauunawaan nila ano ba ang gagawin natin kung merong mga ganitong warnings na ibinibigay sa atin para yung cooperation po nila sa pagkilos, lalo na po sa paglikas, ay hindi na sila mag-aatubili. At mababawasan po yung mga damage natin, lalong-lalo na po yung mga mamamatay or yung magkakaroon ng mga sakuna. Ito po yung ating bibigyan ng pansin. And of course, importante rin po yung komunikasyon. Lalong-lalo na po sa mga liblib na lugar. Kaya kailangan po talagang pag-aralan natin mabuti kung paano nila maiisakatuparan ang mga proyekto na ito at ang mga impormasyon ay talagang maunawaan.
Ang tanong na po ito ay mula naman kay Juvie de Guzman ng DWBL. Paano po malalaman ng mga mamamayan kung saan ang earthquake-prone area nang hindi na magtayo ng anumang structure sa mga posibleng delikadong lugar?
Ang DOST FIVOX ay matagal nang nagmamapa ng iba't ibang mga panganib related sa lindol, sa mga pagsabog ng bulkan, at of course, sa mga pagdating ng tsunami. At ang una nating ginawa, syempre, ay pagpapalabas ng mga hazard maps na makukuha natin sa website ng FIVOX. Pero dahil ang information and communications technology ay advanced na, nagpalabas tayo in maybe 2016 ng tinatawag na FIVOX Fault Finder na magagamit nyo kung saan mismo o kung malapit o nakapatong ang isang lugar sa isang aktibong fault para wag nyong tayuan ng bahay o gusali o critical infrastructure. Dapat kasi may layong at least 5 meters on both sides ng isang active fault ang mga estruktura. Pangalawang dinevelop natin ay yung tinatawag nating hazard hunter. Lahat ng mga panganib sa lindol, pagsabog ng bulkan, pati na rin sa mga pagdaan ng malalakas na ulan, ng bagyo, at posibleng magkabaha o landslide o storm surge ay kasama na dahil nagtulong-tulungan ang mga ehensya ng DOST, FIVOX at PAGASA, ng DNR, Mines and Geoscience Bureau, and NAMRIA, at Office of Civil Defense na ibahagi nila sa DOST FIVOX at makita ng mga tao sa isang plataforma na accessible ng mabilisan. Ika nga, information at your fingertips, na kung saan pwede niyong gamitin ang Hazard Hunter PH na mobile app and web app na malalaman nyo kaagad, double-click lang ang inyong screen ng phone o computer, ay alam nyo na kaagad ang lahat ng panganib na dapat nyong paghandaan, no? In less than 1 minute, kasama na ang recommendation. So napakahalaga po ito. Pero kung kayo naman ay nasa local government at hindi lang point or specific property ang inyong gustong tingnan, pwede nyo rin gamitin yung Geo-Analytics PH na kung saan yung specific barangay o bayan o kahit probinsya ay mabibigyan kayo ng mga graphs, mga mapa, mga statistics kung ilang bahagi ng lupain ang pwedeng matamaan ng ganitong panganib, ilang tao, by sex, by age, ang maapektuhan. So napakarami po, pati critical facilities like hospitals and schools. At pwedeng dagdagan ng local government ang gusto nilang i-analyze ng mga properties kung sakaling sila ay magbibigay din ng information. So napakadali na pong malaman ngayon kung saan ang mga panganib related sa earthquake, sa volcano, sa tsunami, at hindi lang yan. Pati sa mga hydrometeorological hazards na madalas mangyari dito sa ating bansa.
Mga kapatid, salamat po muli sa inyong pagsubaybay. Mas marami pang balita mula sa mundo ng agam at teknolohiya ang ating pag-uusapan. Kaya tutok lamang kayo tuwing Biyernes, alas 4 ng hapon, dito sa DOST TV Facebook page at YouTube channel. Palagi rin tumutok sa mga websites at FB pages ng ating mga ahensya ng DOST para sa latest happenings nila at mga events tungkol sa mga iba't ibang R&D projects at mga inobasyon. Bistahin din ang DOST Philippines FB page para hindi po mahuli sa mga nakalinyang activities ng DOST. Ako po si Oren Miranda. Ito ang mga balitang may kinalaman sa agam, teknolohiya at inobasyon. Hatid ng pagbabago para sa maunlad na mundo. Ito ang DOST Report.